Karen's laugh was a hyena's cackle, sharp enough to make dogs howl 3 blocks away. She stood by my front yard's water valve, gloating like she'd just won the lottery, oblivious to the storm she'd unleashed. It started innocently enough, or so I thought. My name's Daniel, the city utilities director for our sleepy little town of Crestwood. I'd moved into this quiet cul-de-sac to escape the chaos of city life, but chaos, it seems, has a way of finding you. Karen lived next door, a walking caricature of entitlement, her floral moo-moos as loud as her opinions. She'd decided, without evidence, that my sprinklers were stealing her water pressure. Never mind that I oversee the entire city's water system and know exactly how pipes work. Karen didn't care about facts. She cared about being right. The trouble brewed on a sweltering July afternoon. I was in my backyard, sipping iced tea, when I noticed my sprinklers sputtering like a dying car engine. Odd, I thought, since I'd just checked the system last week. I wandered to the front yard, and there she was, Karen, all 300 pounds of her, hunched over the water valve with a wrench she'd probably stolen from her husband's toolbox. Her face was red, her breathing heavy, but her eyes gleamed with the kind of smug satisfaction you'd see on a cat that just knocked over a vase. "Karen, what the hell are you doing?" I called, keeping my tone calm but firm. She straightened up, wiping sweat from her brow, and shot me a look that could curdle milk. "Your sprinklers are ruining my lawn, Daniel. I'm fixing the problem since you're too lazy to." I blinked, stunned by the audacity. "Karen, you can't just shut off my water. That's illegal. And my sprinklers aren't touching your lawn." "Don't lecture me," she snapped, jabbing a sausage-like finger in my direction. "I've lived here longer than you, and I know how things work around here. You think you're so fancy with your city job, but you're just a glorified plumber." The irony hit me like a freight train. A glorified plumber who could have her find faster than she could waddle back to her porch. But I held my tongue. I've dealt with enough Karens in my career to know that arguing with them is like wrestling a pig in mud. You both get dirty, and the pig enjoys it. Instead, I smiled tightly. "Turn the valve back on, Karen. Now," she scoffed, tossing her wrench onto the grass. "Or what? You'll call your little city hall buddies? Good luck. My cousin's on the town council." With that, she turned and sashayed back to her house, leaving the valve shut and my yard dry as a desert. The neighbors had started to gather by then, drawn by the spectacle. Mrs. Jenkins, the retired schoolteacher across the street, clutched her gardening shears like a weapon. Young Tommy from 2 houses down filmed the whole thing on his phone, probably hoping for viral TikTok fame. And Mr. Rodriguez, the quiet mechanic who never spoke unless spoken to, just shook his head, muttering something in Spanish about loca. I could have turned the valve back on myself, but something in me snapped. Karen didn't just mess with my water, she messed with my peace. And as the city utilities director, I had options she couldn't even dream of. The next morning, I drove to City Hall, my blood still simmering. My office overlooks Crestwood's modest skyline, a reminder of the responsibility I carry. Water isn't just a utility here, it's life. Farmers depend on it, families need it, and one woman's petty vendetta wasn't going to disrupt that. I pulled up Karen's property records and utility account. No surprises there, her water usage was through the roof, thanks to her obsession with keeping her lawn greener than a golf course. Hypocritical, but not illegal. Tampering with a neighbor's water line, though, that was a different story. I filed a formal complaint with the city, citing Municipal Code 17 to 4.2, unauthorized interference with public utilities. It's a misdemeanor, punishable by a fine of up to $2,500. I also scheduled an inspection of Karen's property, suspecting she'd been siphoning extra water for years. My team found an illegal bypass on her meter, a clumsy setup that screamed DIY disaster. Karen had been stealing water, likely for her precious azaleas, while accusing me of the same. The confrontation came 2 days later. I'd invited a small crew from the utilities department to inspect the neighborhood's water lines, a convenient excuse to show up at Karen's doorstep with official paperwork. She answered the door in a hot pink tracksuit, her hair in curlers, looking like she'd been interrupted mid-rant. "What's this about?" she demanded, eyeing my clipboard like it was a loaded gun. "Karen, you tampered with my water supply," I said, keeping my voice even. "That's a violation of city code. You're also bypassing your water meter, which is theft." The fine for both is $3,200, plus restitution for the stolen water. Her jaw dropped, then snapped shut. This is outrageous. You can't do this. My cousin. Your cousin on the town council doesn't oversee utilities. I cut in. I do. And I've got the evidence. The neighbors were out again, drawn by the commotion. Mrs. Jenkins stood on her porch, arms crossed, a faint smirk on her face. Tommy was filming, of course. Mr. Rodriguez leaned against his truck, watching silently. Karen's face turned the color of her tracksuit as she realized she was cornered. You think you're so smart, she hissed, stepping closer. You'll regret this, Daniel. I'll have your job. I didn't flinch. You can try, Karen. But the city doesn't take kindly to utility theft. Pay the fine, or we'll shut your water off next. The threat hit her like a slap. For the first time, the smugness drained from her face, replaced by something close to fear. She'd built her little kingdom on bluster and bullying, but she'd picked the wrong target this time. The fallout was swift. Karen paid the fine, grumbling the whole way, and the bypass was removed. Her lawn withered under the summer sun, a fitting metaphor for her deflated ego. Word spread through Crestwood like wildfire. Karen, the neighborhood tyrant, had finally been humbled. Mrs. Jenkins baked me a pie as thanks, and Tommy's video hit 10,000 views before he took it down at my request. I didn't need the fame. I just wanted my water back. But the real victory wasn't the fine or the gossip. It was the quiet lesson Karen learned. Actions have consequences, even for someone who thinks they're untouchable. I'd spent years keeping Crestwood's water flowing, and I wasn't about to let one woman's pettiness dry up my patience. She underestimated me, and that was her mistake. As for me, I'm back to my iced tea and sprinklers, my yard green and my peace restored. Karen avoids me now, her cackle silenced, her moo-moos a little less loud. Sometimes, justice doesn't need a courtroom, just a wrench, a valve, and someone who knows the system better than the bully next door.